Hi, my name is Jen Hensick, and I'm the District Ranger on the Missoula Ranger District of the Lolo National Forest. We're standing here today at the Rattlesnake National Recreation Area, and we're approximately 5 miles or so from downtown Missoula. From this main trailhead here, we have hundreds of homes that are directly adjacent, and we have houses as far away as miles away, and then we have some just on the other side of the creek from this location. So thinking about all the things that people cherish about the National Recreation Area, whether that be big, beautiful ponderosa pine trees or those who live directly adjacent and have homes and structures. Wildfire is a concern. It's important to recognize that we live in an ecosystem that evolved with fire. So here on the Marshall Woods Restoration Project, we began implementation activities in the summer of 2016. We worked through the first phase, and essentially that was some hand thinning and piling. This past summer in 2017, year 2 of about a 5 to 10 year project on the National Forest System lands, the main focus of the project is really to think about how we can get these forests healthier, and how we can perhaps make our communities more defensible and safer ingress and egress for our firefighters and public service personnel.
The Marshall Woods project is great because it's so visible. It's right here in the main Rattlesnake, which is heavily visited by folks in Missoula and from all over. And I think it starts a conversation about what we need to do in places that we care about, because whether folks believe it or not doing anything in an area is a decision. So being proactive and getting work done, and again, Marshall Woods is a great example because we're doing work on federal land, on National Forest System land. There are folks adjacent to this project on private land, and they're doing work. And so together, it's really creating an environment that's not only going to contribute to the health of this area, but also significantly reduce the risk from wildfire. Areas like this are incredibly susceptible to a number of different threats. And so the idea here was to do a number of treatments, starting out with thinning. So we'll come through and thin as much of the understory out by hand as we can. There's only so big a material that people can move by hand. So in this particular unit, we went up to 8 inches in diameter, and we cut a lot of stuff in that size class, 8 inches and below, piled it and burned the piles. And that's kind of the first step in, really reintroducing fire to this area and being able to maintain it with fire versus thinning. The last step in this process will be to do a low intensity underburn through here and clean up a lot of this pine needle litter and a lot of the residual fuel left behind from the thinning unit. The reason it's important to get to this stage where we want to be able to maintain it with fire is the thinning and piling and burning the piles is all very labor intensive and very, very expensive. The idea would be to get to a place where we can just maintain this with low intensity fire, do an underburn every 10, 15, 20 years and not need to reinvest the amount of time, energy, and money in completely thinning everything out. Had we not thinned this and burned the piles, there was way too much material and it was way too dense to be able to do an underburn. We would have risked all the overstory trees along with it. We're looking to have to burn about anywhere from 10 to 14,000 hand piles a year at this rate we're going. And that'll slow down as we get ahead, and then we'll shift from thinning and piling and burning piles into underburning all these same acres, at least as much as we can. And again, it's all in an effort to maintain this stand health and get to a place where we can reduce the threats, whether that's insect disease, wildfire, things like that.
We are incredibly fortunate here in the Missoula area to be working directly with our Montana Department of Natural Resources and Conservation personnel. And the person we've worked with the most here in this particular project is Eric Warrington. And he has been very responsive and supportive to both the National Forest System project as well as our adjacent landowners.
We're in the upper Rattlesnake outside Missoula, and we are in the forest on some private property that's been, landowners have participated in a hazardous fuels reduction project. Well, the goal is to leave, larger mature trees that in the event of a fire would still retain a forest landscape here and wouldn't turn into a bunch of black sticks, in the event of severe fire behavior. We're working with between 20 and 25 landowners on this project, between 80 and 120 acres that they own. And that's quite a bit different than what the Forest Service is dealing with, a project of several thousand acres. We've got nice wintry conditions, and it's an excellent time for these contractors to burn the slash piles that they've created when they were doing this forest thinning work. And it's important that we, get this work done at a time when it's not going to, put smoke back into the valley, and we get that good lift and get clean air in here after this. Looking out here and seeing piles littering the hillside and then seeing them, on fire and how clean that is once they get going and the heat in them, it's important that we do this correctly and do it right for the residents here. We were able to get an engaged group of individual property owners interested in this project here in the Rattlesnake. And so in this case, I've come in and I've worked with them directly and helped them identify contractors that are appropriate for that. And it's been a really rewarding opportunity to get out here in the woods and be able to come out and meet with the landowners and talk about their interests for their forest and what kind of goals they have and what they want to retain for visual aesthetics and what they want to open up for view sheds in certain cases, what kind of wildlife interests they have, and then work with them to try and keep their interests and a fuels reduction project aligning together for one goal.
I think the Marshall Woods Restoration Project is an exciting way for us to definitely tell the story of the ecology of an area like this, why it's important to live with fire, why smoke as a part of where we live is going to happen. And so how do we best address that together and work together as a community? To me, this project is really a springboard to think about what we can do on a larger, more collective scale with the community.
We can either wait for Mother Nature to kind of take care of it for us, which we may or may not like the outcome of, or we can proactively do some work to try to offset some of those risks.